I've always considered myself a mild to occasionally moderate stutter, and yeah, I don't really have a clear memory of when when I did start to stutter. However, I have a specific memory of of a specific episode, which happened when I was 6 or 7 years old. I was this was during summer. I was talking on the phone with my aunt, and she asked me something. I don't remember what, and the answer to her question was the Italian word for number 8, which is otto. And instead of saying otto, I forced it, and I said cotto, which in Italian means cooked. So basically, it's not a number for sure. And she was confused. I was confused, and I felt a bit embarrassed as well. But I was pretty young. I didn't really care too much about that. And then after a while, I started elementary school. And in elementary school, I don't have big memories of issues with speaking or stuttering in general. I do, I do remember that we, in some classes, we had to read aloud and to recite poetry verses. And one specific time, I do remember that we had to read aloud a certain paragraph, and the teacher would then grade us. And when I finished to do that, which went okay, I remember that I was a bit surprised that I didn't experience difficulty doing that. So for sure, I was starting to get conscious about my speech, and something was starting to get a bit funny about it, but I wasn't really sure about it yet. Then I joined middle school. So in middle school, I do remember having issues, big issues. So my classmates knew about my stuttering problem. My teachers knew about the problem as well. And I do remember, having issues like in French classes and, reading aloud, or once again, when you're being asked questions by the teacher, I was very, very stressful. And I remember the stuttering was pretty visible to others. And my family started to realize it as well. And my mother especially. And what they did, and they did this just out of love, I'm sure, so I don't want to blame them. So they tried to apply this strange theory or approach, which was basically whenever I was having issues, so blocks basically, my mother would stop me and she would say, Mirko, you either speak well or you don't speak. So this was very frustrating for me because I was a very young kid. I was very full of energy. I wanted to ask 100 questions per second. So that was very frustrating to stop and try to speak well because I was struggling. It was not something that I was choosing to do. But this thing obviously didn't work. So she got in touch with my doctor, and he advised that there was a children's hospital near to my hometown. And in that place, I could get some speech therapy and psychology sessions with a therapist. So that's what I did. I started having sessions with the speech language pathologist. And this lady was she was a lovely lady. She really wanted to help. The sessions were very nice, in my kid eyes. And we read aloud, we practiced deep breathing, and like generic and kid style things. And one day I showed her that I noticed that since I was having issues, especially with words starting by vowel, if I was putting an H sound before that word, the feared word, I could go through, I could say it. And she was amazed initially because she wanted to help, but she didn't really had the tools to help. And so basically what she did was, what she said was that basically there was nothing else we could really do about it since I found the solution by myself already. And I think I stopped having speech sessions with her. However, at the same time, I was having sessions with a psychologist, and this guy, man, he really wanted to help, but he didn't know what to do. He really tried hard to help. basically the main thing that he tried to do was he put a sensor on my finger, and he was measuring the level of sweating that I was having at that specific moment. And that somehow was, well, somehow, I think that from a science point of view was linearly related to the level of anxiety that I was feeling at that time. The thing is that most of the times the sensor was not going beyond the threshold that would make it trigger and show that I was getting very anxious, unless he was really forcing me to speak, like saying speak, 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 like was creating some anxiety in me. So that was useless, and I'm very sad. This, well, not sad. I think it was really useless. And the guy, the thing is, he really didn't know what to do with me. So the time that I spent there was wasted totally. So after that, I had to move to another town, and I joined high school. So in high school, so this is strange, I don't have memories of having big issues with stuttering. Well, not even minor issues, to be honest with you guys. I do remember that we had to read aloud English class, Latin class. But I do remember that in some occasions we were asked to recite things once again by memory. And once the teacher asked me to recite something that was like basically a list of sentences, and they were all starting by vowel. So it was panic for me, but I managed to say them, but I knew that I just managed. So it was like I survived, but the problem was there. And what I did also was I asked one of my best friends of the time, I asked, man, sincerely, do you think that people realize that I stutter or that I have this mild stuttering issue? And I was expecting a no, because for me it was not a problem. And the guy said, yes, definitely. But you know what? People don't really care. So I think you're making the problem bigger than it is. And I think the guy was sincere as well. So, and I had to ask him, because otherwise he would never mention this. So yeah, so basically the problem was there, was visible. The funny thing was that in my mind, there was no problem. So that's good, I guess, probably. And so during high school, I had some health issues. I had a tumor. So unfortunately nowadays it's very common to have this problem. So um, when I had this problem, I had spent a lot of time in the hospital, with doctors. And for me, the main focus that I had was one day I wanted to become an airline pilot. So that was it. That was my target. There was nothing else that could have, blocked me from achieving that. And stuttering was not even in my mind, even though once again the problem was there. I was just not considering it. And yeah, so long story short, I became an airline pilot. I studied hard. I spent some time in the US as well, in Texas, for flight training. I really enjoyed it. And I've been a pilot for almost 10 years. So it's, I'm definitely somebody who can be a pilot. And I'm going to return to this shortly. So I've noticed, however, that slowly through the years, my speech was getting worse and worse. Very slowly, but still getting worse. And my idea was that I was going to attack the problem one day in the future. And as long as I did not have any issues at work, my life would be fine, even with stuttering. So guess what happened? I had issues at work because I was speaking one day with my colleague, and we were arguing about some minor thing, nothing serious. And I had a block, a pretty hard block. And I could see with my eyes the embarrassment in my colleague's face. And that was like destroying. That was like the worst thing that could happen to me. And from that day on, guys, my life went down totally, because I started to panic. I started to, doubt my capabilities as first of all, as a pilot, but also as somebody, as a normal speaker in the world. I was getting anxious of speaking to strangers, to people in the shops. Very, very nervous. I wasn't sleeping well, to be honest, and so I had to take action, and that's what I did. So I bought Lee's book, the Kindle version initially, and that was a bit of a mistake because the Kindle version was showing on the front page that it was the third edition, but in fact it was the first edition, and I didn't realize that initially because there was no way for me to tell that. And the same, well, the other thing that I was doing at the time was I was watching the coaching sessions that Lee was posting on YouTube, and I found them amazing. And once again, in those sessions, he was mentioning sometimes parts of the third edition, so there was something weird. I was missing some pieces of the puzzle, and so I discovered that SAC was available, was founded. So I joined it straight away, basically, as soon as I realized it was there. I downloaded eventually the third edition, I read it, and I've watched, I'm tempted to say maybe 100 coaching sessions, but I think it was dozens for sure, and probably just short of 100. And those were very, very useful because when I was watching coaching sessions, I was pretending I was the guy being coached. So that was, was amazing. And also you can listen to those sessions even without really watching the video. You can just do like sports, and just listen to them. So that was very, very useful. And then after a while, I was assigned to Leah, a very nice coach from South Africa. We mentioned her earlier. She was really good. I really appreciate what she did to me because she was very straight to the point, and also she was very how can I say it in English? She was always there, especially from the psychological aspects. And we know that stuttering is mostly a mind problem, where if not 99.9%. So that was very, very useful. And I really have to say a big thanks to Leah. And then also did sessions with Leah, obviously, and Lee is the king. So there's not much to say really. He's the guy. He knows how to help. He gave really straight to the point and very direct tips just for my problems. One of which was to speak slowly and to insert more pauses, which is something that I'm not doing right now, even though I have it here. And I'm still working on that, Lee, don't worry. And another very important thing that I did was I started to attend some meetings. And during some meetings, I realized that there was another Italian person there, and this person is Silvia. And I started to send her a message because I wanted to meet her, to speak to her. And she was extremely kind, and she told me that she was having practice sessions with some other members of SAC, and I joined these practice sessions. And these members were Shoji, Brian, Kelly, and Claudia. I hope I didn't forget anyone. And the sessions with these guys were amazing because we had some reading aloud sessions. We had some general speaking sessions. We had sessions with questions and answers. So you're pretending you're during an interview. So they were extremely helpful, really, really helpful. And I'm really thankful to these guys for sharing their time with me for this. And then I passed the 4 weeks mark, and I'm now working on loving to speak. Basically, that's it. And to summarize, I would like to tell you what I think about stuttering. So something very strange is happening to me right now because I had an eye surgery at the beginning of the year, and I've noticed that sometimes I just move my hand to take my glasses off, which seems a bit, strange because I don't have glasses anymore. There's no weight on my nose, but my brain still believes that the glasses are there. And whenever I do that, I'm not consciously thinking about it. And also in my job, I normally use a device called autopilot. And I know that the autopilot works well, but sometimes doesn't work very well. There were a few crashes air crashes in the past, and they were due to a faulty setup of the autopilot. And I think that with stuttering, we have the same issue. We are being on autopilot, and we are letting him do the job, but we have to control it. That's why pilots are paid. You know, people always say, yes, you fly with autopilot. No, it's not real. You really have to look after the autopilot. You have to make sure he's doing the right thing. And in our case, he's not doing the right thing. So I also believe that anxiety is not really the main cause. I would say the main cause is this bad habit that we have saved in our brain, maybe caused initially by a strong anxiety moment. However, anxiety can make things worse, and I've seen this with myself for sure. But the main thing is this autopilot. So we have to break the automatic chain of events that lead to stuttering. So crutches really help. Everything we do really helps regarding this method. We really have to move 0.5 millimeter, which is, I don't know how much in inches. Really, that small gap from thinking about what we're going to say, we just have to focus on the message, which is very easy to say and difficult to do, but that's life. So not much we can do really about it except practice.